I'm going to do a speech because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a speaker. So you'll have to bear with me. But when we get to the question and answer, I'll be my real self. You know, no speaking, no speeches. But good evening, and thank you for having me. Crown Heights Young Entrepreneurs is about entrepreneurs and small business owners sharing their stories to inspire future job creators from and for our communities. That's exactly what I'm here to do tonight. Speak about my experiences in starting up my business in hopes to inspire at least one person to jump in and start theirs. CHYE held its first event last month titled Think Big. I did not attend as I was in Miami, but I did watch Dudi's speech on Facebook. I think he got the point across very well that no matter what you are doing right now and where you are doing it, it is in your hands to change that and make it better. When Dudi spoke about himself working at the CHYE, you saw right away how this organization is going to be special, how it's going to have a businessmen and entrepreneurs sharing their experiences from their hearts. The main takeaway that I got from his speech was that you need to start with thinking big. Thinking big doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, but can mean something as simple as getting off your couch and getting a job, or deciding to grow your business and take it to the next level. Thinking big really means making the choice to do something more, and making that choice is the most important part of starting it up. Although I grew up in Miami, Crown Heights was always my second home. I was born in Brooklyn and have been coming back here all my life. As a child, I came at least 2 or 3 times a year. As a kid, I also had the entrepreneurial spirit, whether it was selling lemon heads with my friend Morty, who's in the back over there, or making carnivals with my friend Morty in the back over there for our class trip. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit in me. But really, Crown Heights was where I launched my entrepreneurial career. As straight out of yeshiva, at about 18, I went to work for a startup called WorldSpy. I believe that working for a startup gets you a lot more than any business degree. So you can thank your parents for not saving up for college and thank your yeshivas for throwing you out. You got a head start, and that's priceless. Another big lesson I learned was how a startup raising big bucks, in WorldSpy's case, $25 million, is not the key to success. And raising capital is not the most important first step to launching a business. After WorldSpy went out of business, I began working in the real estate world. This pretty much knocked me out of the entrepreneurial world, and I stopped thinking that way. In the next 6 years, I gained a lot of experiences. I also realized how much I dislike the corporate world. I didn't end up starting my business because I was thinking like an entrepreneur. I started it out of the desire to get out of real estate and the corporate world. Plus, I was told that I was about to be out of a job, so I didn't really have much of a choice. Starting it up. The date for me of starting it up was November 14th, 2005. I remember the exact date because it's the same exact date that I incorporated my business. It was the same day that I had a conversation over the phone with my longtime friend, Joseph Schwartz, while sitting at my desk in the new condo development that I was just relocated to. The desk 100 miles away from my apartment in Miami Beach, where I commuted to every day for the last 2 months. Jos, a trained chef, mentioned he met someone in the Zone meal delivery service where he lived in LA. After hanging up, my interest was piqued while researching the concept on the web. After spending another 5 minutes to search the web for a similar company in South Florida and coming up empty, I decided at that moment I'm going to start my business here in Miami. No market research, no business plan, no food background, no nutritional background, and no budget. But I did have 2 much more important things: a fantastic idea and passion. I incorporated the same day and decided that day that I will deliver to my clients, no matter how many I had, on January 1st, 2006, just a short 10 weeks later. Over that time, I spent under $500 in advertising with my Capital One credit card and signed up 3 clients who prepaid me for a month's worth of meals, a total of $3,000. Using their money, I purchased the food at the grocery store on my way home from work and had my wife cook the meals, as Yost was on a cruise at the time, so I couldn't get him to come down. I delivered the meals throughout the night. Now, that wouldn't have been so bad if the 3 clients all lived on the same block, but that wasn't the case. Instead, they covered all 3 counties instead. The first year was by far the toughest year. Starting something up is not easy, but if you believe you can do it and get up every morning with that attitude and never give up, you can make it happen. Since 2006, the business has grown at a high growth pace. The Fresh Diet has made the Inc. 500 2 years in a row and was recently named by Forbes as the 14th most promising company in America. There is no one key ingredient to accomplishing this, but I feel that there are a few important places to focus, and if used correctly and with each other, can give anyone an advantage in building a fast growth company. Creating a hyper-growth company doesn't mean making millions of dollars, and it doesn't mean retiring early. It means stressful days and stressful nights and constant maneuvering to not let the fast growth sink the ship, which is a very common occurrence. Although it's difficult to grow a business to $20 or $30 million, it is very possible, and it's done by thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs each year. However, growing from 20 or 30 million to 300 million or 500 million or $1 billion is nearly impossible. If I had to guess, I'd say it's at least 100 times more difficult. So, the good news is that if you're thinking of starting a business, or if you're looking to take your business to the tens of millions mark, it can be done. And today is the best time ever in the history of mankind to make that happen. Now, I would usually start with passion as the first ingredient, but because of my last statement, I'll jump right into marketing. It has never been easier to get your message out on a massive scale. When I started my business, there was no Facebook and there was no Twitter. Now you can use social media as a free tool to launch any business. Now, when you're thinking about starting a business, the first question you need to ask yourself is, will I have something to tweet about every day? If the answer is no, do not start that business. You need to always stay at the forefront of marketing. The Fresh Diet was one of the first companies to use Groupon. Using Groupon back then was very different than it is now, as Groupon only promoted one company per city a day, compared to the 20 or 30, or probably more by now, that now have to share the spotlight in each city every single day. And just to talk a little off of it, I mean, marketing is, again, I can't stress how social media has changed the world. I mean, when you're starting a business 5 years ago, there was just no way for you to be able to get that word out without spending dollars. It wasn't a possibility. There was Google AdWords and there was other types of marketing, but to think that there's a free way to get your brand new product out to thousands of people, especially in a community where you come from that gives you access to many people, is priceless, and it really needs to be taken advantage of. And although there are a lot of businesses that help you with it, you need to do it yourself in the beginning, and when you're big enough, you can pawn it off to someone else. But it's definitely the number one game changer. Number two, which is really number one, is passion. If someone asked me today what the most important thing to have when starting a business is, I would answer passion. Passion can make a mediocre business a great business, while lack of passion can take the best business and put it out of business. Passion may mean different things to different people. To me, it represents the drive I have to build something great, something that will go down in history. When you are passionate about what you are doing, it's a lot easier to get up in the morning and do it. If you are looking for an idea to start a business, stop looking. Think about something you are passionate about and start a business that will make that thing better or replace what that thing is missing. PR and networking. Although these can really fall under marketing, I like to put them in a category of their own. They have drastically changed in the last 4 years thanks to social media. The days of paying a PR company $5,000 plus a month are gone. With social media and the right networking, you can get your products into the hands of the press easier than ever before. Becoming successful at the PR game is mostly about networking and building relationships. Back in 2008, when LinkedIn was a novelty, I was using it. I would open up tabloid magazines and throw in names of editors in the LinkedIn search. I would write and copy and paste a message about my story and the celebrity angle and pitch it through LinkedIn in-mails that cost me about $50 for 50 or 100 or so. Most people did not respond, but a few did, and one of them was an editor for Us Weekly magazine and got us into the 2009 Diets That Work cover story in January. No one can sell your business like you can because no one will have the same passion. People on the other side feel the entrepreneur's blood, sweat, and tears, and usually are happy to help them out. Technology. Technology is a very, very key important part. It's really about investing in the right technology, understanding that technology is always evolving, understanding that you only need to outsource what you can't do yourself. When you're starting a business and you need to use a database, whether it's Excel or Access database, most people find someone, pay them, but they just don't do it themselves. They don't learn it. They don't take the time to understand it. And with technology, anything you can teach yourself, anything you can learn, if you're not going to be successful in your startup, then at least you can fall back on what you learned from it. So I really, truly believe that technology is the only way to grow a hyper-growth company. There's no way to do it without technology. I was on Crown Eyesight Info today, and there was a few comments as usual, some good ones, the only reason I go on that site. And one person wrote something about talking about debt and financing, and I really wasn't going to talk about it, but financing is definitely the key to long-term success, and it's not easy to obtain. Proper planning and research is a key. I only know this now. I didn't start with any planning and no research, but I could stand here and tell you what I've, the failures and what I've learned from years of doing it. And there's no question that putting a very good structure in place beforehand goes a long way. It shouldn't hold you back from getting started, but it's something that you should focus on immediately. And I've actually had pretty good success with the SBA, and I feel that is a strong tool that people don't use. They're scared of it. They think it's impossible. I remember when I told my father that I'm thinking about buying a business and how are you going to get the money for it, and I said I'm going to get an SBA loan, and he looked at me like I was an alien that just dropped from the sky, like the government's just going to give you money. But there are circumstances where the government will, well, it's a bank, but the government will bank it, will back that. And it is a long process. It's a grueling process. I went through it for 6 months, and it really was the key to how I expanded my business out of Miami. And I got an email one morning that said, this is after the process is 98%, you're done, you're for sure, you're getting it, and there's no question. I got an email that said, you're not getting it. And when I asked them why, the reason is because I had no experience running a business that was multi-state. And I was able, thought fast and, just you have to hack and Chinik when you need to hack and Chinik. And I gave them my background, how I worked for a real estate company, and I was involved in, the condos were all over the country, and I flew around, and, and that email worked. And at the end of the day, I got it. Some people would have just given up and said, I went this far, but you have to keep pushing it or you'll never get it. And the good thing about the SBA loans now is they're really pushing to give it, and they've raised the limits, and it's something to explore. And another comment on Crown Eyesight Info was, would there be any girls or women here? And I didn't see on the sign, where's the sign? That it said they're not, and I see Nancy's here, so that's great. But honestly, everyone sitting here, if you're going to start a business and you're married, put it under your wife's name. I never did that, but I learned that if you're in government contracts, you want to have a women-owned business. If you're looking for an SBA, they're going to give it to you more if you have a woman. So I think you guys should all go to CHYE and bring your wives in here, and we'll talk to them, and we'll make them the entrepreneurs. So hopefully next time there will be more women, and it really will go a long way. And I know we have a Q&A, so to get to that quicker, which will make me more comfortable, I'll talk a little bit about the organization, because I'm not a speaker, and if I've spoken, it's only in front of strangers. So to get up in Crown Heights is definitely, I never imagined that I would be standing in front of Crown Heights giving a speech because I'm not a rabbi. And what other reason is there to get up in Crown Heights and give a speech? But I believe in this really, greatly. You can ask Rabbi Gordon, who's sitting in the back, and Yeshua, that I've been talking about this for years now. I feel that there's a lot of young Lubavitchers, whether they're from Crown Heights or not, that have been successful. And, there's a reason for it. It's probably because we get thrown right into it at 18. And like I joked before, it's very serious. I mean, we do have a head start. And I do believe that is a reason that you've seen it. But an organization like this that can really show, I was expecting more young people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Just show people that it's really just about doing it. Can something get done? Maybe, but at the end of the day, if you don't do it, and if I just hung up the phone and I was like, yeah, it's a great idea, but whatever, what do I know? I wouldn't be standing here today. It's everything comes after starting it up, but besides thinking big, right? Because that was the first one. Everything else comes after that. You got to do it. I've spoken in front of small business owners and entrepreneurs in the past, and it's all the same exact thing. They all can tell you that day that changed their life, that they said, I am going to start my own business, or I'm going to take my small business and I'm going to do whatever I can to bring it to the next level. And an organization like this is fantastic. I'm happy to be here and speak about it. But at the end of the day, an organization like this needs to do the exact same thing that any startup needs. First thing it needs is a passion of the CEO, which in this case is Yeshua. Just like this organization has no chance without his passion, any business would have the same no chance with the CEO that lacks the passion. This organization needs marketing to get people like you to come out to the events, just like your business needs marketing to get people to buy your products. This business, just like probably most of your business, doesn't have a big marketing budget and needs to focus on innovative guerrilla marketing, whether it's social media or just pounding the pavements and putting up your posters because of its lack of budget. This organization needs network. It needs to pitch its PR to local newspapers to get the word out, and hopefully when it grows to a certain size, an organization like this will use technology to help take it to other cities and across the world. So please continue to support Crown Heights young entrepreneurships and help get the word out. Like the Facebook page and post a comment. And before we do the Q&As, I got a call from one of my many family members. Everybody wanted to tell me what to speak about, which I found pretty funny. But this one specifically said that I should really mention that you need to, pick an organization. This might be my organization that I picked. It's not about giving money to our organization. It's about giving back to the community. And, I come from a long line of people that have given back. My grandfather, he delivered chickens to door, so it's pretty funny that I deliver food door to door. But he, it wasn't about how much money he had in the bank. It was about every single day taking what he had and helping and giving other people money or doing what he can to help them. So it's really important, and it gives you a reason, and it's very important to find an organization that you're passionate about, just like I'm passionate about this organization. And again, it's not about money. Money doesn't do anything. It really doesn't. It doesn't help Yeshua in any way, maybe a little bit. But it's about giving your time and really, giving back. And hopefully, everyone here will be very successful, and they can give a lot back to the community. So, thank you. I'm going to call up. We have one of our host committee members, Zalmi Duchman. He's going to moderate the Q&A. Whenever he asks a question, just repeat it so that you can hear it on the mic. Sure. He's going to start off. He has a few questions that he has prepared, and you have. That's why you have the pads and the pens. If a question comes to you, please pass it up. I'll moderate it to Zalmi.
You could text him.
There we go. Technology.
I see. I'm serious because not everyone's got a pad. Text it, and if you want to take my number, take it, or take JD's number. Okay, 347-405.
They could just ask it. That would be amazing.
Right? Oh, it'll get out of here. Maybe it won't.
I'll pick them.
All right, pass over your question.
You want to repeat it?
One more time.
Yeah, 347-405-3209. Register? All right, I see 2 questions. Oh, you want to go first? Zalmi? I have 2 friends that were bugging me in the back. No? Shy down? All right, you're lost. All right.
Go with your questions.
Ask directly. While he asks.
Go for it.
When you say passionate about having a business, is it being passionate to be an entrepreneur, or is that to be a specific idea that you're passionate about?
Right. Sure. So the question is the passion about being passionate about having a business, which everyone can now say, yeah, I'm passionate about having a business, or is it passionate about the specific business? So I think it's a mixture of both. Although I didn't have any food background or nutritional background, I had close friends that were foodies, and I always liked the restaurant business. And a year and a half prior, we actually thought about doing something else, like Friday night dinners. So I think it's about finding something that you're passionate about more than having the passion to be an entrepreneur, because it kind of leads into being, once you are passionate about something and you're building it, then that other passion is going to come of wanting to take that. Usually, I mean, for some people, passion is having a 9-to-5 job and being home and putting their kids to bed. I mean, everybody's different. But if your passion is to grow a business, to build jobs, to create jobs, then that's probably a good enough passion in itself, as long as you find a good business. But if you can find a business that you're actually passionate about, whether you are passionate about reptiles and you want to sell snakes, I mean, it doesn't matter, because you're going to feed off of that, and when you talk about it, you're going to sound a lot more sincere than if it's you're selling nails and you don't really care about it.
Cool. Okay, we're getting a lot of diverse questions. Okay, I'll start with a simple one. How'd you spend the first $500 of marketing?
Sure.
Like your first $500.
Yeah, sure. I could tell you exactly how I spent my first. How did I spend my first $500 of marketing? I opened up a Google AdWords account, and the interesting thing about that is, again, now I would say probably I would hope most of you would know what a Google AdWords account is, but in 2005, if you ask the average person, who's on top of Google, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, Google's, nobody's paying for that. Of course not. So at that point, because I had the background in internet, I knew of, do I want to go out and look for people that are looking for diet delivery, or would I rather just pay $1 when someone types in diet delivery and clicks on me? Obviously, I'd rather just pay the $1. And the interesting thing is that when I had that initial conversation, as I was talking about, and I went online to research this concept, I put in, diet delivery Miami. Nobody came up. And that is the one decision of why I started my business. Now, if my competitor knew about Google AdWords, and my competitor that did exist, that I ended up buying out with the SBA loan, if he did exist, I might have contacted him and said, hey, you want to do a kosher? The whole story might have changed. So because he wasn't on the front of marketing, he went out of business. And because I was on the front of marketing, I built and took him out of business. So, now it's a different ballgame, because now most people know about it. So whatever I did then is not going to work now. Now you need to know how to take your $500 and get the most use out of it. And there's, again, with social media, there's different ways to do it. But, I did a print ad, I think, for $150. And then the other $100 was to do a no corporation. But I spent $500 to start it up. It wasn't all on advertising.
The next question is a management question. You said earlier how you were suggesting that before an entrepreneur pursues funding, they should make sure they have structure in place. So this is a question about that. Do's and don'ts for scalability. What do you recommend? What should an entrepreneur do or not do in the early stage of his business to ensure that kind of scalability?
Okay, so what should an entrepreneur do or don't do to ensure scalability when it comes to structure? When I was talking about structure, I wasn't talking about S corps and C corps and LLPs. I mean, you should all do an S corp until that changes in the next election. I can't tell you, but as a small business, you 100% should be an S corp. It flows through to you, and hopefully you'll be forced by your investor to change to a C Corp like I was, which is never a good thing, but you got to do what you got to do. But I was talking more of structure and financial structure for budgeting. You know, you have a lot of people that start businesses and they don't have the structure of a budget, a financial structure in place, and they just are not able to last and overcome that. So it's not easy. It's probably the hardest thing to do, but you really need to do what you can and put a business plan in place. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. It just has to be a corporate strategy, structure, layout of how you things want to do. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is a personal one about your t-shirt. I'm kidding. The question is, did you actually engage in your own social media marketing? It means, did you personally, and do you write on your own Twitter and Facebook page daily?
Yes. So the question is, do I and did I do my own social media? And the short answer is, of course. As I said in the speech, when you hire a PR agency or you have someone that works for you, not even an outside, they cannot pass the message along like you can. It's impossible at the end of the day. Nobody can show that passion. Nobody can talk about their product. Nobody can do it like you. So when it comes to social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, LinkedIn is an amazing tool for anything, for business to business and for business to retail. And just because we're talking about social media, and I would imagine that most people that use social media are not using it the right way for business. They're using it to post, something daily. They're commenting, but they're not really. Social media is giving us access into the minds and into the thoughts and into the words of your clients. If you were passionate about reptiles and you started a snake store and you came to me, I would tell you, are you on Twitter? Are you searching in Twitter like you would search in Google the words, pet frog? And then are you tweeting to the guy that just wrote, my pet frog escaped, hey, come to my store and buy one? No one is doing that. Everybody thinks that social media is, it's a gold mine of data that you can go and search out, whether it's on Twitter, which is the easiest place to do it, because everybody's accessible to you. Anything that they're talking about or tweeting can be searched, and you can use it for your business. So yes, I still do it myself. I do have people that work for me that kind of manage the contest and stuff like that on Facebook. But I think it was by the royal wedding, I got up at like 4 in the morning and I posted, I'm watching the royal wedding on our Facebook page, and somebody posted right away, I hate these automatic postings that are done beforehand. So I could have ignored it, but what did I do? I said, lady, this ain't no thing. It's 4:23. I'm sitting here and I'm watching it. And that goes a long way. It's all, content is king. You can sit here and we talk about social media and there's no magic pill. It's all about content. It's about having conversations. It's about whatever you do, whether you're selling reptiles or your construction, you need to use social media to make yourself the know-it-all in your business. And you can't hard sell. It's not like, hi, buy this, buy this, buy this. It's, did you guys know that, construction costs have gone down? Did you know that, the best snake is this snake? It's about creating content. And people ask me, how do you get likes on Facebook? And I'm like, you just, you got to create content. You got to get people to share. And like, yeah, but how do you have 46,000? I'm like, well, I had 0. It didn't go from 0 to 46,000 in overnight. It takes time, and it takes a year. You won't see anything. There will be no return on investment, although there's no investment really, for a year. It takes a lot of time, and you have to constantly be doing it. You have to become part of that conversation, and you can't do it once a month. You got to do it 4 times a day, let alone maybe daily.
Okay, if it's the last question, then I'm going to skip. There's a question we got 4 times here, okay? And one guy really said it the best. Tell us a few things not to do.
Sure, that's easy. That's the easy question.
Tell
you a few things not to do. The number one thing I would say not to do is not to lose focus. It's very, very easy to grow a business, to go out to lunch, to see a restaurant's close down, and decide you want to get into the restaurant business. And it's never a good thing to do. You know, you always want to stick to what you're doing, and until you're extremely, extremely successful at that, you know, just because you see Groupon doesn't mean you should start Joupon. So, you know, you really just need to have that straight vision and not veer off the path. Besides that, because you asked for a few things of not to do, never go into business with your friends. No, I'm kidding.
That was another question.
Yeah.
Friends and relatives.
Listen, I would say that 99% of people cannot go into business with their friends. I would, you know, that's, everybody knows that. But luckily, I knew what I was getting myself into early on, and I was able to, you know, make sure that there's a healthy medium involved. But I think not lose focus is probably the most important of not to do. And, you know, don't give up until the last second.